Hi, I'm Linda Fox. I'm in the PhocusWire studio and I'm with Samuel Flynn, and he's CEO of Hands-In. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Hands-In is all about split payments, and you've had some recent traction. You've got a partnership with Outpace, I think it was Webjet last year. Just talk to me a little bit about the demand for split payment.
Yeah, so split payments, whenever I'm at the conference today and at different conferences, I ask a question to prospective buyers, what is your definition of split payments? And they go, oh, is this not BNPL?
Right.
No. BNPL is effectively a sexy credit card pioneered by Gen Z and millennials and obviously firms like Klarna, and they're issuing lending. That's not what we're doing. Split payments is the ability to have a transaction split at checkout across either multiple cards, multiple payment methods, or multiple buyers, and it unlocks different use cases. So the big problem set that we're trying to tackle for the travel industry is insufficient funds. And insufficient funds is where a traveler is heading to the checkout, trying to pay, can't pay because for whatever reason they don't have enough money. Credit cards rejected it, debit cards rejected it, etc. MasterCard, I'm doing a talk that today, did a report, and obviously the issuer, that the average decline rate in the travel industry is about 12%.
Okay.
42% of that is insufficient fund led. This was in 2024. So if you work the numbers backwards, it's roughly about travel businesses are losing up to 5% of their payments on insufficient funds. And by the way, this data has come post the traction of BNPL. So what split payments as a technology represents is at the checkout, if a traveler is trying to pay, and let's say they try to pay with a single card, they can't get the transaction through, why not try multiple? Or the ability to pay with a BNPL and a wallet, or the ability to pay with multiple people. So for groups, you have a lead booker that can split that transaction across multiple participants that they're traveling away with. So we work a lot with airlines. So you can say now that you can sit together on a plane, book together, and now you can split the payment together. Yeah.
So great use cases. I guess what I'm thinking or wondering is it a good thing given the amount of consumer debt out there that you allow people to pay anyway, that even if they have insufficient funds? Are you basing it on the fact that they will have some funds somewhere? How does that side of it work?
Well, it's just unlocking an incremental revenue opportunity for the customer and the merchant, because it's not a case of pushing people into more debt.
No.
That's not what we do.
No.
We are really a technology layer allowing split tender to take place. The BNPL providers, as an example, they're the ones that's going to be deciding on whether you get the loan.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
The credit card provider, American Express, will be the ones deciding that. This is, if you have two credit cards, like for example, in the US, card penetration rates are super high. I think the average number of credit cards per person is 3.
Yeah.
So right now, if we have, volume and business in the US, they're forced to pay with a single card. But if they're tapping away, putting everything, their grocery bill on their credit card, sometimes their limits get exposed. And for expensive things such as travel, where basket values have risen since the pandemic by about 25%, that's the use case, because you can now put your American Express limit combined with a maybe Amazon credit card limit or MasterCard debit card limit, whatever it might be. But then with Webjet, who you mentioned, who'll be launching this month, they see our product as an amplifier to BNPL, and I'll explain the use case. So Michael Gulliver, the payments manager, what he's doing is they use a BNPL called Afterpay or ClearPay, and that BNPL only provides a limit to the travel customer of about 4,000 Aussie dollars. So Hands-In will be displayed of card, PayPal, and split payments, any transaction above that amount.
Okay.
Because again, I'm kind of waffling on, but I want people to see the use cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
His use case is, okay, transactions above that amount, BNPL won't cover it despite the penetration rates and the success. But if they have the ability to provide a credit limit and a debit limit, or a credit limit and a BNPL, we can help get that transaction through. And we as the intermediary in between are not taking on that risk, nor is the merchant.
So given the kind of current climate, and people are a little bit hesitant about, splashing out on a big holiday, does that help or hinder you? Because if they can split the payment and they think, okay, actually didn't remember I had that little pot of money there, does that help keep the kind of industry going? Or does it are you, like a lot of other parts of the industry, a little bit like, right now?
I honestly think it's helping our business from what we're seeing. With, for example, Air Europa, who we initially started the business with, the average transaction value on a single car payment was about 250 to 300 euros. With us, it's about 1,200 to 1,600. So if you want, as an airline or an OTA, to sell products and services that possibly you can have things bundled in that will drive the transaction value. Split payments is fantastic for that. And obviously then for the customer, you're unlocking affordability for different types of purchases that you just wouldn't have the ability to do so.
Yeah, or maybe you didn't realise.
You didn't realise. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the use case of insufficient funds is less you don't realise. From what we're seeing, it's not people are heading to checkout, not understanding whether they don't have enough money. It's heading to checkout and going, okay, that solves a problem for me today. That's where we sit, and we're just converting that. That flow of traffic into our product at the real estate of the payment page.
Okay, so there's this volume of payment providers out there. Where do you see the innovation?
Lots of different areas. So payments is a broad landscape, and being a newbie into the industry, not only travel but also payments, it's a lot to get your head around. It can be quite overwhelming. But obviously you've got the PSPs, you've now got payment orchestration. Where we sit is APMs, and I'm going to be biased and say there's a lot of innovation there because you're creating new ways to pay.
Okay.
Like, for example, the ability to pay with multiple cards at checkout doesn't widely exist despite the demand for it. Same with the ability to pay with multiple people at the checkout. Why in the travel industry, when we book as groups all the time, Gen Z millennials, every year, around 60% of them book a group trip of at least 3 or more, but there's not a way for us to all pay together. It makes zero sense, hence I founded the company.
Okay.
But obviously the big topic at the minute is AI.
Yeah.
And agentic, and I think that is the next thing that will come. I don't think we're there yet. I think what it's going to open up is just a new, especially for example for airlines, revenue channel. You'll have direct channel, you have NDC, and you'll have agentic.
Yeah.
And that'll be the flow. And soon, I think in the next, say, 10 years, that'll be the thing that will just start to eat on that market share. So I think right now the disruption, and I'm biased, will be in APMs, not just hands in and split payments, but other forms of payment. You've got PICs doing fantastic, other BNPLs that are coming to the market. Open banking is on a bit of a rise at the minute, but then agentic will be the next thing that will come, and whoever figures it out is on a goldmine opportunity.
Do you see the AI platforms coming back to the table with a payment solution? Because everybody got super excited when OpenAI sort of said, okay, no, we're going to leave it for now, but they've got to come back, surely.
They will, yeah. And I think MasterCard are doing some quite interesting work around it, and I hear lots of startups trying to get there first. To be honest, I think what's going to happen is payments is very complex, convoluted, but you're just going to see a decentralization of providers into, I think, a single source. The checkout with agentic is not going to be something that will exist. You'll interact with some LLM and say, I want to pay this way. So I want to book my flights of £200, great, pay on my debit card. Or I want to book my flights of £500, great, can I split that across 2 cards? That's how I'm positioning the business.
So on the basis that you've already allowed that platform or your agent access to your payment methods?
Yeah, so you've got AP2 with Google and UCP with OpenAI.
Yeah.
So payment methods will be connected to the LLM, and it will be you that's interacting with the LLM and deciding what method of which you want to pay with. And then the back-end infrastructure will stay the same. But I think it's going to cannibalize a lot of payment infrastructure. Where do payment orchestrations sit in that value chain? Some PSPs as well. It's really much like the OTA industry, an exciting / worrying time as to what's going to happen to all of us as the years go by.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all a bit worried about that. 2 that we sort of haven't talked about is digital wallet, given the legislation in Europe now. The other one is blockchain. We all got very excited about blockchain a few years ago, gone a bit quiet now. What view there?
Yeah, so I was at a payments conference with Worldline, who we're partnering with 2 weeks ago, and they shared a use case of, I won't say the airline's name, of where they implemented Bitcoin at the checkout as a payment method.
Okay.
Just take a guess how many transactions they processed.
Is it going to be more than I think it would be?
Just take a guess.
10%.
2%,
or just 2, as in 1, 2. Okay.
This is a global airline.
Okay.
So Bitcoin is a store of wealth.
Yeah.
I think the stablecoin stuff is interesting, and it's an infrastructure layer, but at least what we see, airlines, OTAs, they're not asking this as a form of payment yet. Maybe in 10 years, but it's definitely not going to be something that I think is going to have any traction because the cost of the transaction is so large. Now you've got agentic that will just shuffle the card backwards against its favour. I still think card will be king, consumer protection.
So 2 over what period of time?
What for a year?
Okay, a year, and you think it's 10 years out? That's in today's age, given how rapidly things are developing. That's quite a long period, and you can actually see it. Well, either fading totally into the plumbing, which I'm guessing is what you're getting at, or just becoming obsolete.
Well, I think stablecoins is infrastructure. That's different in terms of ways to paying with Bitcoin or any other fancy coin. Again, once it was at its height, 2 transactions with an airline.
Yeah. So then, probably plumbing being that sort of single source of truth in the background.
Because now you've got agentic. So and you'll know this better than anyone. All of these guys here today, at the C-level, they're going to be prioritizing what's the next thing that's going to come through. It's going to take a while for that to come through, mature and scale, a bit like what we were talking about off camera around the ramp up.
Yeah.
So if you just say 3 to 5 years, well then Bitcoin and stable coins, whatever it might be, that then just gets shuffled to the back. What we're doing at the minute is playing within that, not Bitcoin and stable coins, but within this new innovation. Now you've got agentic. I just can't see it really. All the conversations I'm having.
Consumer-facing type traffic.
No. And also people don't understand when it comes to stable coins. When I was at the same conference 2 weeks ago, same payment manager of a company that we're launching this month went, I don't know what stablecoins is.
Yeah.
So they're doing a really bad job.
We had that conversation at UATP, didn't we?
Yeah. They were doing a really bad job of digesting what that is to the customer. The benefits of what we do is it's so easily understandable, which makes things travel. Agentic is quite easily understandable, the use case, which makes it travel.
Yeah.
But if you've got something that's complex and is going to confuse the buyer, how are you ever going to get anything through? And I think that's also why we've not really seen it have any traction.
Yeah. Okay, fragmentation in travel payments. How is that impacting on the travel experience? Because, I hear from payment providers that airlines don't necessarily want to implement more, even if the consumer wants it, because it's potentially more friction at the basket. So, how do we address that? I suppose.
So the question more is around adoption of these new methods. How do we,
or adoption, so that adoptions without the friction.
So I will say payment orchestration is playing a role in that now. The benefits of that is hosted payment page, connect to any APM, and you have all of your acquirers and a multi-acquirer setup, routing capabilities, etc. I won't bore the listeners with that, but that's the go-to place of which you want to enable an APM. It's difficult for an airline or an OTA to do it direct.
Yeah.
Direct means, you've
got to go and get that implementation.
Yeah, and we work with you direct, but they do it if they've got a sophisticated payments team. So I think a lot of it is putting more investment into payments. Payments is definitely a revenue driver. You've got a customer that gets all the way to the checkout page and then they've got a choice to pay. And if they can't find their preferred payment method, we see studies of this all the time, they will abandon cart and go somewhere else.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And if you've got a method that can truly display incremental revenue, which I believe all payment methods generate incremental revenue, because it's just like, boarding a train or getting on a bus. You can choose to go on that one, that one, that one. But if you have the right one for that customer that heads to the page, great, you've got them. So the enablement of that, yes, it can be direct, it can be through orchestration. Orchestration can take away a lot of the strain with an airline that's probably limited dev resource, limited investment in payments. But then if you've got an OTA or an airline like Booking or Delta or whatever, that hopefully are not having so much archaic processes and systems, they can do this independently. It just needs to be more investment and more education in that sector.
Okay.
And that's not just me saying it. You'll talk to anyone at the C-level, any of the payment leaders will probably say the same thing of okay, I think we've proven as an industry that payments can be a revenue driver, but now we really need it to be prioritized against everything else, which is the real challenging part, I think, for payments as a whole. It's the prioritization of it. People say, oh, well, I just use Stripe or I just use WorldPay and my cost is X. Why do I need Y?
Yeah.
It's the education investment in that.
Yeah. Now, of course, the other side of that is fraud. I think I've had 2 emails just over the last 24 hours about, latest scams, World Cup, whatever, and travel is always a huge target. So again, it is, how do we achieve a balance there between all of the payment methods and what they can provide, and you say driving revenue for the travel suppliers and fraud?
Well, I am no fraud expert. So I definitely don't want to comment on something that I don't fully have, as knowledge as like split payments and payment methods. But, I think Riskified are certifying the big providers there. Working with them will obviously help prevent, but they probably need to do a better job because you're right. I looked at the statistics, fraud is up and will continue to go up. Yeah. But I also think that's part of a use case that sits outside of just the payments landscape. Travel baskets have risen. Yeah. People are taking more ambitious bets on the way that they purchase and where they book.
Scammers are getting cleverer. I mean, no doubt about it.
Now with AI. Yeah. So it's sort of a cost of doing business, I think.
Yeah. Well, I know that's how a lot of suppliers see it. Okay. Well, we've spoken quite a lot about payment orchestration and addressing complexity, so that's all good. And we've spoken about AI. I wanted just to ask you impact versus hype and kind of real fixes that you might be seeing. Like, what's it actually achieving so far?
In payments or overall? In
payments.
Okay. I think data, so reconciliation, AI will be brilliant. Yeah. That's where it will be very strong. So for finance and treasury management teams, fantastic. Yeah. And I imagine they're already using it in their own capability today. And then I think the next wave, which will be a bit more in the future, maybe 3 years from now, is the agentic. So the ability to just call an LLM and then just pay. I don't think it's going to be for all demographics, agentic commerce. I think, for like my nan and granddad, not a chance. Yeah. They want to call TUI and say, excuse me, can I book a package holiday? Yeah. My mum, no. My little brother, who's 17, he's of the TikTok age where if he had the money and if he saw something he liked on TikTok Shop, he would just buy it. Yeah. And if he could just buy it, like Apple Pay and Google, because I think Apple Pay and Google Pay are a representation of what agentic already looks like.
Well, I think that's where the whole digital wallets will come in.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, the ability to just literally face recognition with your iPhone and pay, that's what this is going to look like. You're going to interact with something and say, find me the flights, build me the itinerary and pay. Someone like him, it will work perfect for. But I do think a lot of it is very overhyped at the minute. You're seeing huge valuations, massive, herd mentality towards this topic. But can you name 10 airlines that right now are processing agentic transactions or 10 OTAs?
I probably couldn't name one because airlines are going to come after the initial wave
There's
of
no
OTAs.
either.
Exactly, but that's what it means. The airlines are going to come after that. Yeah. We're probably going to come after some single sort of maybe hotel use cases. So no, is the answer.
And when I was 2 weeks ago with Worldline, they said that they processed the first agentic transaction. So the technology's there, but it's literally right at its infancy. Yeah. So right now, I'd say it's overhyped. I think there's a big education piece and trust piece to get people to pay this way, which for some demographics, I would say at least 70% of the market, it's not going to work for in the initial, say, 3 years. But then after that, it will really start to cannibalize the rest of the booking chain, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. That's Sam. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Brilliant.